From the air, it looks like magic. Turquoise water blanked out by perfect crescents of sand, new boulevards tracing ink lines where waves used to break. They turned the ocean into land, sold the view, and started building before the last dredger shut down. But every miracle has an invoice, and this one arrives slowly, in maintenance budgets, missing beaches, and tides that push back harder each year. The question is not can you make land? It is what the land will cost you after the ribbon cutting. Why do cities take the gamble? Scarcity mostly. When your coastline is crowded and your economy is growing, a new district printed on shallow sea looks like a shortcut. It unlocks waterfront real estate, relocates ports and airports, straightens coastlines for container berths, and creates space for parks no planner could squeeze inland. Reclamation has built airports, tech parks, stadiums, and entire neighborhoods. Some nations have expanded their land area by a quarter since independence using this playbook. On paper, it is cheaper than tunneling subways or buying out old neighborhoods. On camera, it is dazzling. The method is industrial and blunt. Survey the seabed. Lay geotextile mattresses and rock to define a perimeter. Bring in trailing suction hopper dredgers, vacuuming sand from approved borrow pits. Pump millions of cubic meters into the cell, let the water drain, compact the fill with vibroflotation or dynamic rollers, add vertical drains, and wait as the ground consolidates. Top it with engineered layers, utilities, and roads. Wrap the edges with revetments and breakwaters. None of it is mysterious. All of it is about sequence, quality control, and time. Time is where shortcuts hide. Fresh fill settles as water escapes the pores between grains. If you build too fast, towers tilt and roads ripple. Done right, engineers preload the platform with surcharge embankments, monitor settlement plates and piezometers, and release the load only when the consolidation curve levels out. Done wrong, you inherit uneven foundations, snapped pipes, and grumpy insurers. The fastest schedule is not the fastest handover. It is the schedule that protects the next 50 years. The brochure promise is always the same. More coastline, calmer lagoons, safer homes. The physics can disagree. When you block wave energy with new arcs of rock, currents bend around them and scour nearby shores. Beaches that once grew year after year can retreat. Sediment that used to nourish wetlands ends up trapped behind breakwaters. Fishermen discover nursery grounds smothered by turbidity plumes during dredging seasons. Coral and seagrass do not follow planning diagrams. Move enough sand, and you redraw the food web. There is also the matter of where the sand comes from. High-quality marine sand is finite, and prices rise as borrow areas shift farther offshore. Each cubic meter carries a carbon cost. The diesel burned by dredgers, the cement and steel in the seawalls, the extra air conditioning needed due to heat reflected by pale, treeless surfaces. Reclamation is a carbon debt with a payment plan. To make the math work in a warming world, you need serious offsets in building performance, mobility, and power generation, not slogans. So what does a responsible mega reclamation look like? It starts with morphology models that run for decades, testing monsoon seasons, storm surges, and sea level rise scenarios. It sets aside sacrificial beaches and active sand bypass systems that move sediment past inlets the way nature did. It relocates reefs where possible and builds artificial habitats where not. It times dredging to avoid spawning windows. It designs promenades for shade, not just sunset photos. And it commits to monitoring publicly, so course corrections are transparent. The hardest design problem is not shape, it is elevation. Build too low and surge events will visit you more often than your marketing team would like. Build too high and you create cliffs that sever the city from the water's edge. The sweet spot is a layered defense. Offshore breakwaters to take the first punch, raised platforms that keep critical services dry, deployable barriers at key gaps, and ground floors ready to flood safely without wrecking the building. The goal is recoverable failure, not brittle heroics. Now, the money. Reclamation transforms cheap sea into expensive land the moment plots are auctioned. That spread pays for the rock, the dredgers, the utilities, and a bit of margin. But the ledger does not end at handover. Breakwaters settle and need rework. Seawalls weather. Canals silt in and must be dredged repeatedly to keep water clear and navigable. If maintenance reserves are thin, the postcard fades. Smart developers escrow years of upkeep in advance and bind homeowners associations to fund the rest. There is no free coastline. Compare two paths. Path 1 ignores long-term sediment budgets, waves in bigger storms, and the rate at which insurance is repricing coastal risk. Sales are quick, early phases glitter, and then costs show up like uninvited guests. Path 2 treats the project as living coastal infrastructure. It spends more on science, elevates critical networks, electrifies mobility so air stays cleaner over flat water, and seeds economic anchors beyond luxury condos. Universities, maritime tech, medical campuses, logistics. Same ocean, different outcome. People ask whether reclaimed districts are only for the wealthy. They do not have to be. The entire point of creating land is to add capacity, not just postcards. Mixed income housing, public transit first, shaded streets, and quotas for real jobs over speculation can make these places feel like a city, not a resort. The test is ordinary life. Can a teacher afford to live near where they work? Can a nurse walk to a bus without collapsing in heat? Can a kid learn to swim in clean, safe water? Turning ocean into land is never just engineering. It is a promise to future residents and to the coast itself. If you were signing off today, what safeguards, elevations, and maintenance funds would you demand before the first pump starts? Your move. Right now?